Welcome to day 9 of landscape painting challenge, and today we have a beautiful and dreamy lavender field from Provence. With an elastic eraser, removing excess amount of graphite of our drawing. Careful without any hard pushing. We will start from sky area and mixing color. Sky on top is beautifully purple, very dreamy purple. For that I'm taking ultramarine blue, water, permanent rose, a little bit more of permanent rose, testing on a piece of paper. This is good color for lavenders, but for the sky we need something more dreamy or lighter. With a little touch of indigo, the sky looks a little bit calmer rather than lavenders down. Just little touch of indigo. Be careful with indigo, don't overdo. And then lower part, I'm taking lemon yellow with alizarin crimson. Too strong. Removing a little bit, adding more yellow, a little bit more yellow. And a little bit of permanent rose as well, closer to horizon. This. And for the sky area, I will wet surface and color over tree, because tree is much darker. That can be painted later, there's no worries about that. And sky, again, like the yesterday, we can't overwork. Lightly going from upper part, then from lower part, and carefully in the middle, combining violet with lemon yellow and alizarin crimson mix, because if over mixed them together, these two colors, and we will get the dirty brown color. We don't need that, and we don't have it in the sky areas. So be sure that your water is clean after mixing watercolors. And applying water to paper surface, going until the horizon line, not into the lavender fields. Carefully in, only till horizon. Carefully around and looking if everything is covered. And let's go. Upper part is darker. With some, maybe a little bit of clouds visible. And there are more, maybe some very dreamy clouds inside that area. And then on the lower part, there's this lemon yellow with alizarin crimson, a little bit of permanent rose. And they are meeting more fluffier. Carefully not to overwork not to overmix. This a little touch of permanent rose. And at the horizon, there's this further behind some misty clouds. That is by the horizon. A little bit more of ultramarine with permanent rose and touch of indigo. And with a paper towel, you can blend in. With dry paper towel. They're more in that purpley cloud. There's more misty clouds. And with dry paper towel, adding that dreamy appearance in the sky area. Now for the lower part, we will start with gaps in between lavenders. Here I have lemon yellow and alizarin crimson. I want to add a little bit more of lemon yellow, a little bit more of alizarin crimson, and a touch of what we have here. Testing on a piece of paper, a little bit more of lemon yellow. It's perfect for that area. And as you see from reference, that ground in the distance is lighter, and then it's more intense closer to us. Then I need to prepare color for lavenders, because here we will go in on wet surface straight away with gaps, with lavenders, shadows for lavenders, and some greenery. So we will move quite quickly, and for that we need to prepare all colors. So this is for the gaps in between lavenders. Now for the lavenders, I'm taking ultramarine blue, more intense, permanent rose, more permanent rose, testing, then taking, for the shadows, I will be using indigo with little touch of permanent rose, a little bit more, that's gonna be shadow, maybe a little, just a tiny amount of permanent rose more. Indigo is a very strong pigment, and to change it, yeah, this is much better. And for the greenery, lavender greenery is cool green, has cool green color. So I'm taking perylene green. More of perylene green, because I will be making splashes. And for that I need watery and strong color. And I will add a little touch of lemon yellow. Now here I have 4 different areas, and that we will do in one sitting. Apply water first. For this session I prepared round synthetic brush number 9, and to apply water now using flat brush. Applying water, so as we will be working on a wet surface, applying water just enough so everything is moist almost to the puddles, but no puddles. If you look, it's very glossy, there's no dryness. And let's start first with, and as I dip my brush in the water, I clean it. I take color for the sand that's in between lavenders, and it's lighter in the distance and more intense in the foreground. In between, and lighter, dilute with water, lighter in the distance. Also creating illusion of what is further from us is lighter, and what is closer to us is more intense, and adding a little bit more, like even as I look in the reference, the middle part is even darker. Just little dots here and there to recreate the texture of those rocks that we see. Here as well. And now going with a lavender color, stronger in the foreground, and lighter as it goes farther away. These two that are the biggest one in foreground move a little bit quicker. And if your layer is already dry, add water, another glaze of water, and lighter in the distance. Moving forward with the next line, and lighter in the distance. Pushing further. As it goes away, it's lighter. Another one. Lighter in the distance. Careful not to go over the lines. Here everything almost blends together, so we will be separating with shadows. Now we have transparency and of outlines still visible, and it's important not to lose that. And also leaving those little gaps for the sand that is visible. And I have my shadow, not going too strong, and adding it on the right side of the lavender line, and it's lighter in the distance. Next one. And wiggly. Line should be wiggly. And lighter and thinner as it goes far away. Another line. Still while it's wet, another line. Adding that shadow very lightly, and as it goes further, the line becomes thinner and lighter. This side has this on the left side, and I slightly add water. Add water so I can apply this shadow, and it becomes thinner in the distance. Here's a little bit visible, and also this one in the middle slightly visible on both sides, just at the very far end. And it's not so crisp. Adding a little bit of water, not too much, just enough to make this shadow work. And a little bit moisture. Another. As it goes far away, it becomes lighter and thinner. Smoothing with brush. Now this part, I'm running out of mix, and this part is already dry, so I'm mixing again indigo with a touch of permanent rose. A little bit more. Adjusting. So with lavender field, we will go with more layers. This is not something that can be done in just 1 to 2 layers. Adding this shadow more intense. Removing if too much. We can manipulate quite a lot with brush and watercolors. Applying a small amount of moisture and shadow as it blend and pull. We are applying shadow of each lavender field. Remember, the line should be wiggly. There are some unevenness smoothing and pulling higher. Another layer of moisture, just enough for the surface to be moist. And shadow. Again, another, and smaller amount. Now these shadows are looking much better. If needed, you can smooth if there's some crisper lines start to appear. I want to add as well here moisture, more intense. And remember about the wiggly line. Smoothing and pushing. Yes, this looks much better. If needed, smooth again. Needed, smooth again. Watercolor mix. Wiggly, and the closer this lavender line is coming, more wiggly should be the edge. Because you can see these two, especially this one, has a really detailed visible lavenders, but we need to create the illusion of those lavenders. Now let's do here the wiggly. So I'm wetting, taking quite a lot of this mix, and now I will do a lot of little pushes into that is underneath to create space for the lavenders on the other line. And smooth, push, like this. These two don't have so intense shadows like the rest ones here, so I want to add also more here. And blend. This one went over the edge slightly. Carefully, as it goes further, it smooths out. Applying, washing, and smoothing. Okay, now a splash of greens. I need a little bit of moisture. Didn't finish in one sitting, so very lightly glazing over. Very lightly. And taking my old brush. And another thing important here is to cover sky areas, so no splashes are in the sky. Like this, I covered, load my brush, and hit it. So these greeneries will be like, so they don't blend into each other too much. And as you notice, who saw lavenders in real life, those leaves are tiny. So splashes will create that illusion. They're blending nicely. Good that we covered sky area because splashes go, as you can see, everywhere. If we wouldn't covered, then splashes would appear in the sky area. Like this. Sky is clean. And now I will wait for this to dry. I can add here the background. There's the mix of some very pale green and violet. So I'm applying tiny with my fine tip brush, pale amount of lavender greenery mix carefully. Great precision, quiet. Silence in the studio. Artist is really concentrated on, because this is a very narrow area. Adding a little bit of that violet here and there because those are some kind of far and distance lavender fields, so we are just getting an illusion that there's something is going on. And we can do tree while this part is drying, so we are not losing time. In this greenery mix, what I'm taking, I'm adding indigo, then perlin maroon, something really dark. I need to mix something really dark. Yes, this. So there's green mix, what we have from lavender, which is perlin green with lemon yellow, then indigo, and perlin maroon. Using finer tip brush. Now this tree in the distance has a really nice trunk, tree trunk, and it's like an old olive tree maybe, and olive trees branches are really like cranky and old, and so that's what I'm also making these like they're not so straight and lots of turns. Then again, I'm taking this old brush, I make it dry and spread it out, dip in the same watercolor, and I will go with these stippling of textured marks. A little bit is visible green, so I'm taking sap green. Here I have more. A little bit of green is visible, even if it's darker. And a little bit more. First, making it. If there's too much water in the mix, you try to make it more damp in paper towel. Yeah, and that's it. Tree looks perfect. Now, this area is still moist. I will wait before we continue with next layer. Now for the next layer, I will make splashes again, and this time I want to mix a big amount of lavender color using ultramarine blue, a little touch of indigo. I need some darkness, more darkness. Permanent rose, a little bit more. Very saturated, testing on a piece of paper. This will be great. And again, I'm covering sky areas so there's no splashes, and a little bit even the further part because we don't need super big splashes there. And what I'm taking is this flat brush and slightly watering just with one layer. Don't disturb the splashes that we have. So very nice glaze. If you have a mist spray, I can't find my, then it would be even better. So I'm taking my brush and more splashes. Yes, splashes are going everywhere, especially here in the foreground. More. These splashes are creating more texture, more differences with the details, and it all will come together at the end. The further it goes, splashes should be more smaller. They're bigger in the front, even way bigger and more. With the spray it would be nicer. I like how the splashes look here and they're more crisp here. I will go lightly with the glaze later, but now more splashes. Smaller splashes in the distance. And now let's wait a few minutes for this to dry, and then we will continue with shadows of each lavender line again. Now I found my spray, so now I will spray this surface and go with the shadows to intensify shadows for the lavender fields. I don't know even which was better, glazing or using spray. I don't like the big drops that appear after spray. It's definitely not even. Glazing would be more effective. Yes. So for the shadow, I have my indigo with permanent rose, more permanent rose, and a little bit of indigo. So what am I doing right now is adding more intensity. And it's nice that the surface is slightly moist because so it blends nicely in that part. And now you are making this shadow a little bit going in somewhere more intensely. Maybe somewhere that we see that they are planted in little bushes and they have slightly visible separations, and it's becoming. So here, like push the shadow a little bit in some places further, creating these bushes. And it's becoming lighter as it goes further. And again, intensify, also going into the previous one, creating more, and it's becoming lighter. So as you see, those lavenders have shadow not straight, but it goes into that rounder line, like this. And also from the other side. Carefully. Don't lose light. It's important to keep light area light. We have nice and sky areas clean, which is important. Clean your brush, and if needed, smooth. Light push of the shadow into the lavender will give more three-dimensional result. Very pale amount in the distance, but still there is shadow. Careful. Now we need to add shadow also to this one. It's not so thick as it is here, but it is still there. Wiggly also. Some more precise, thinner lines. And it goes more thinner to the distance. And lighter, of course. Because the furthest, the lightest, the more paler. And a little bit maybe here. Now this one. And also a little bit of shadow is going into that ground area. And becoming lighter at the end. But still there's shadow at the end. And now here, as it goes more to the side, it's becoming more intense. Again, slightly push into the and again. shadow in the distance. Clean brush. If you feel like I do right now, that my lavender fields are too violet, but I need to add from reference photo, it goes more, if I compare my work with reference, mine is more to the blue side, but the reference is more to the pink side. That's not a big deal. I will add clean glaze of permanent rose a little bit later to even out the color tone. I can adjust color tones as I go. I can't make from this violet color green or I don't know, yellow, but slightly shift to blue or to pink side is possible. Now the surface is almost dry. I will be working with finer tip brush and making here and there some really fine lines. Be sure that you can make really fine lines with your brush, so it should be really pointy and thin. So what I see is the structure, how these lavenders are growing. Here and there they're sticking out, the longer ones. So I'm adding these lines now, and as they go further, they are more and more smaller and thinner. Maybe some is going out, as we see in the reference photo, into that space in between. Also, clean permanent rose. Can be added now to make this also more addition of pink, especially in the foreground. And then here as well. So now it's up to you for this already stage of detailing. A little smaller and finer lines, more in the distance. And change also how long, how short these lines are. Here even what we have in the very closest foreground, we can even make these uneven brush strokes of creating illusion of lavender flowers of close-up. What we need is to create brush strokes that look like from the distance that there are flowers, there's the flower field, or this is a lavender field. We don't need to, this is not botanical painting, this is loose landscape sketching. We are creating the feeling of what we see. Some more here. And as it goes further, lines are becoming lesser visible because they're more detailed in the front part. And it's important to let some into the ground because it's not so even. The sand between lavender fields, and we see from reference there are darker lavenders sticking out. And as I add darker line into the lighter part of lavender in the foreground, I'm creating these gaps of white area that creates that illusion of lighter parts of lavenders. It's just more accurate work. No need to rush this stage. You can play as you wish. And slightly making it lighter and giving color a little bit more. Lighter in the background. Like this. And here I have more of permanent rose because I feel like I'm slightly missing of this color. More here. I want to create more contrast between lavenders and space in between. I see from reference that there's greater contrast. As I add more color, they become richer. And this part, this painting, I feel like layering is good. It really does the trick. But still, not too much overworking it. Light brush strokes. Keeping light area light. Remember about that. And lighter in the distance. Finer brush strokes also in the distance. Separating each line from another line with a shadow, not with an outline. Now more drier brush strokes. More details. And I want to test clean permanent rose, small amount of clean permanent, like a little glaze on the lighter part. I feel like I'm really missing some pink color in this painting. Just a very light glaze, not too much. especially in the middle part. Really small amount of this glaze. It will calm down when it will dry. And I think it gives a nice touch. Okay, let's do more of detailing. Can add more crispness to these ones. Now it's almost a finishing part. The most enjoyable part when you are adding details, like you see already how it's all coming along. And having fun with brush, watercolors, composition. It's up to you how far you want to push your painting, your work. Finer brush gives more crisper and finer details. The bigger we filled up the space, and now we can add more details to it. Pink glaze. Pink glazes. And when they dry, they become calmer. Also, I want to do a glaze here, but I will take slightly bigger brush. When you are glazing, try not to overwork so you don't lose the work that you did previously. All those splashes and fine lines. Okay, and this is done for day number 9. I will remove washi tapes and show you the overall look. And here's the finished result without washi tapes, and surrounding area of my workspace is messy with lots of splashes around me. As a realistic botanical painting, this is a disaster because I'm so neat and clean, and that's how you need to be with botanical painting. But this is definitely pushing me out of my comfort zone, but I'm happy with the result. Hope you try this tutorial and learn something new, and see you tomorrow on day 10.